Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if I could get your attention, I want to thank everyone for coming to this event. My name is Richard, and this is my lovely wife Kim Cooper. This is Lava. This is the Los Angeles Visionaries Association. This is my wife's brainchild. We have a monthly salon here, right here, same time, same place. It's last Sunday of the month here at Clifton's. We're very happy to be here. Most importantly, Jose, thank you so much. Jose has set up the coffee camera. Yes, so there's coffee in the corner, okay? So no excuses, right? That's right, yay, thank you. We have about a 2-hour program. We're going to get started on the better half of this program is going to focus on these two gentlemen here that are going to change hats occasionally. They're going to switch between the Cacophony Society, which is the subject of this film that you're working on.
Well, coats, actually.
Okay, and I'm just going to stop because that's right. Right. They're going to change hats. A couple and coats, right? And I'll let them get started in a minute. And also, where's Gene? Gino. So the theme of this talk is pranks. And you're going to talk, I guess you're going to have the last section. You're going to talk about pranks that people in the record industry played to get attention, to get their records played on the air.
Yes.
Good. And Ian, you were just talking that your manager was very good at that.
No, my promotion manager.
Promotion manager, yeah.
He was the assistant West Coast promotion manager, as celebrated by the Stones.
Yes, my friend, yes.
Oh, I was just waving to Russ.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's a good person to wave to. Okay, so what I want to do is I'd like to just let Al, there is really quite a line downstairs. I'm going to encourage you at this point, if you want food, to maybe wait till after the film, because there's really a lot of people downstairs. It's going to take a while. Let's let Al and John talk for maybe 10-15 minutes generally about these different hats and coats you're going to take on and off, and then you can show the film. And by that point, any stragglers that are still in line will be up here. And thank you guys very much. So take it away.
Thank you, Richard.
Yay!
Let's do this stuff before. All right. We wanted this to be a little less cacophonous, so we were just discussing. Can everybody hear me? I talk really fast and quietly, so you might want to move in closer. Or it might be a good idea not to hear me. So John's going to be showing a film. He has a documentary. How long have you worked on it? About the Cacophony Society?
I've worked on it for a number of years. It's one of these like labors of love that you know, it's got years of labor in it. I don't want to say exactly how much, but you know, a lot of those years I had to like work like half the time editing TV shows, which is what I do for a living, and then it's been pretty concentrated over the last few years. So it's got probably a good solid years of labor in it.
And it's an epic, actually, because I mean it covers. I'm going to talk more about Cacophony Society in Los Angeles in a certain period, but the Cacophony Society spanned. I mean, it began. We'll talk about the history a bit more later, but it began decades ago. I mean, who knows when it began? It's lost in the mist of time, and it was. It did start. We can say with some authority that it started in San Francisco, or maybe Zurich, Switzerland. I don't know.
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve. Moses for sure. Solomon. Anyway, so we're gonna focus on more recent and more local activities. And John was very involved. I mean, he was a cacophonist. He was very involved in a lot of the events throughout the '90s, which is the period this focuses on mainly. And
yeah, no, my first event was '92, and then it was a stolen cacophony event, got to the Transvestite Barbecue with Mondo Video Go-Go. And then I really had no idea I was at a cacophony event. It's only now research that I covered that. But then I started in about '94, kind of became a core member in '96, and I produced a number of events, you know, over the years, both in and outside of cacophony.
Now John here says he was a member.
Yeah.
We are always very, and as he said, the first event he attended, he wasn't sure it was an actual event. Where's that? No, we don't need the timer yet.
Where is the timer?
We were very inclusive. We were kind of like an umbrella organization, and people would come and go, and I always, membership was always sort of qualitative based on particular events and participation. We didn't have the decoder rings or anything like that. What we did have was I put together a newsletter monthly. This is LA again, but it was after the San Francisco model, and that pretty much put out there to the public what were the official Cacophony events. But again, like you said, you know, we were drawing stuff in from everywhere.
And I have to say, due to Reverend Al's extraordinary writing of the newsletter.
Typing. I was a good typist.
He had very few typos, but it drew the weirdos, it drew the miscreants, and we all found each other, and
yeah, for good or ill.
For good or ill, and you know, now there's a movie about it. I mean.
And the movie covered, I mean, we did a lot of different kinds of events, and the movie covers pretty much all of them, I think. To me, it was easy to put them in categories. The ones that people hear about the most are the ones that were, actually had the smallest number of participants. They were like street theater, guerrilla theater, people out on the streets dressed in bizarre costumes doing bizarre things. But there was also stuff that was somewhat subversive, that was more at night and more behind the scenes. Prank flyers going up over neighborhoods.
Setting fires in urban places.
But for good. Fires for good.
There were no permanent structures destroyed.
Now he was a member, quote unquote, of the society too. So you can listen to his outbursts also. And some of these other people, some people that you all know, were also associated with the Cacophony Society. I see a little bunch of them over there. So we did the theater, guerrilla theater type things. We did pranks. We did shows. Now the shows, I'm kind of obsessed with the Freemasons. So I had this idea that there would be outer cacophony and then the inner lodge. So we had our own purposes. Perhaps we had to draw people in. So we would do shows that have themes, and we treat them in sort of absurd or a subversive way. We had cop night, for instance, and you'd have like a board with different kind of donuts, and the people would have to identify which kind of donut it was, or beating up minority contests or things, like themed games, basically. So we had the cop night, white trash night. So these were they were basically kind of glorified themed parties, and not as challenging, kind of fun. And we had a public venue. And so then when the people would come, we'd see who was out there making a fool of themselves the most, and then we'd tap them for other more dangerous activities. And I always thought the dangerous activities were more fun. So shows, pranks, and then also visits to...
Oh yeah, tour bus, as you say.
Kind of tour bus, or like we call it, excursions to the fringe.
The lunatic.
The lunatic fringe, yeah. So we'd go to, we'd visit, and we wouldn't really announce ourselves because we didn't want to bias things. We'd go to like different cults or a place that might worship the Space Brothers, or quirky little museums, people that collect things shaped like bananas and refuse to admit there's any phallic association. That was good. Very good. Banana Man, cake museums. Anyway, so excursions, pranks, shows. I think that kind of covers it.
More or less.
Yeah.
I mean, a few repeat events.
Yeah, well, lots of repeat events actually.
Comedic terrorism.
Comedic terrorism, or art terrorism, or whatever. We never really used the word art.
Just general jackassery.
Yeah.
The best haunted houses and all.
Oh, the haunted houses. Well, we'll get to those in a minute.
That's show. So,
all right.
So, I mean, I think that's kind of a basic rundown. Richard.
I think everyone I saw online is now up here. This might be a good time to show the film and then talk about.
So now you can start the real.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, that was all bullshit. None of that. That was just filling time.
In fact, you don't know this whole thing that we're talking about, Cacophony, might not have ever happened.
Yeah.
The film might be a hoax, like whatever. Anyway. Some of the transitions to the sound might not be absolutely perfect. It's definitely not mixed, but anyway, here we go.
That was great. Thank you very much for showing us that.
Cheers. Thank you.
Oh, we hope you enjoyed the show.
Cacophony is about enemies. You're against society, government, or corporations, or whatever. And you're against your fucking fellow man, for Christ's sake.
They almost
Yeah, anyway.
Okay, Kim, did you help us with that little thing, handing out the little things? Are we done with
Yes.
things being handed out? Oh, okay, good. So, I guess we have pretty much everybody here. I hope you can still hear me. There's more people.
Yeah, John, if you could talk up just a bit, John, that would help.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I don't want to come across like a theater actor.
You could even come closer if you aren't afraid of us.
Well, I'm afraid of you, and I need mine.
All right.
This feels good. This feels good. We're used to having to protect ourselves. You know, there was rumors of unrest in the crowd, and I know that Cacophony's always been kind of controversial, and I wanted to be sure that everybody felt like they were represented. So I want to be able to interact, like get the questions that you guys want to hear, and make sure that we're addressing the issues that you want to talk about, include you. So what I did was I handed out questions that I'd like you all to ask. They're numbered. So I believe somebody out there has question 1.
I have question 1 right here.
Oh, okay. Could we hear that?
Can you tell us how the Cacophony Society started, and if possible, include the word communiversity in your answer?
That is I'm astounded. You know, communiversity, that's a very interesting word. And it has its roots at the beginnings of adult education, like UCLA Extension, and it was out of San Francisco State, I believe. And the Suicide Club, which is the grand instigator that gave birth to Cacophony, the progenitor, so to speak, was initially started as a little blurb in the communiversity as like an adult education course. And the Suicide Club was quite covert in its activities, did a lot of like majorly illegal things, all in the spirit of fun. And that's how communiversity fits in on the equation.
And so, I mean, San Francisco Cacophony started, when was it? It's like
86.
86, okay. So, and then we'll take the story down here where I remember more. Eventually, a mysterious agent from the north came down. I only knew him as M Squared. I'm serious. He wouldn't tell me his name for the longest time. Finally, he relented and he said, "My name is Michael." And I actually found out years later that was his name, but I just assumed he was lying to me again because, yeah, that's part of it all. I had seen he had been working down here. He's actually working as a computer consultant for City of LA, and he'd been leaving these flyers around with events that weren't really happening. The events were hoaxes too, but I thought they sounded cool, so I got in touch with him, and eventually we planned the first event that I was involved in, or that as far as I know, had a lot of people going to it. It was in conjunction with a UFO convention they no longer have down here. It was a bunch of believers came to the hotel near the airport, and we had fabricated this flyer about the Church of the Magnetic Light, and strangely enough, a magnetic Christ icon that had worked as a honing beacon to UFOs had come to the area, been obtained by this church. They were in town, and they had it, and they were going to actually have a little ceremony about 6 blocks away from the convention that night. Really convenient. So we left these flyers everywhere, and at this point, I had turned I am wearing the collar because I adopted the name Reverend Al for that and other psychosexual reasons, but Reverend Al at that point, and we organized this sort of welcoming ceremony, really absurd, silly, and then we had an even more absurd and silly UFO flyover. We actually hoaxed a bit of a UFO.
Oh yeah, that was a classic.
It was great. It felt a little bad because somebody had shown up there. He was on crutches, and I think he was looking for a healing, and I saw him silhouetted on the hilltop. And anyway,
think the UFO hoax extraterrestrial aeronautics workshop was the first cacophony event that I co-produced with you.
Yep.
I mean, that was my venture into actually being more than just a bump on the log or a consumer of cacophony events.
Yeah. But that was one of the first big events. We joined people from other communities, and the thing started to grow. That would have been like '91. So I think we kind of got that one covered. Maybe somebody has like another question. Somebody with like a 2 on their card, you might want to pose their question. Yes, sir.
Have you ever picked on the Scientologists?
Oh, picked on the Scientologists. I don't believe it's exactly what. Anyway, we'll go with that. No, I know where this question is coming from. It sounds like we're just out to pick on diabetics and the Baha'i, you know,
retards.
I mean, John and I are a little different here. My opinion was these people are a shitload more interesting than we are. I mean, they live in their own subjective reality. I don't personally believe that well, this is kind of metaphysical. I don't really believe in objective reality, so I like to see somebody create their own reality, even if it's really nutty. So I was all like, I'm kind of into these people. I'm not there, but
it's something to be encouraged, and unfortunately, they're all dying off.
They are especially like a lot of the outsider artists who have these crazy environments. They started it when they were free and they could do what was really inside them, and those things are getting torn down. So we would kind of pal around with a lot of these people in the day, and a lot of them are getting those things get torn down. The cults, people get old, closes. So that's the kind of downer.
I heard the cake lady died.
Cake lady died. So we'll just end that one on a downer. Okay, I think there's a third question. Anybody? Oh, yes, sir.
Sounds like the lying was a big part of the society.
Lying, yes.
Lying. Could you say that stealing is just as important?
Stealing,
appropriation.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What you want to talk about it? You want me to?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much steal. We did a lot of recycling of things that we found.
That's true. You know,
some of it, we pulled out of garbage. We considered it garbage. We have a loose definition of garbage. This stuff would be out on the curbs, and I'd see a mattress and be like, that means we should have a topless spaghetti wrestling event.
People with little can do like a lot, and like for instance, we have this friend that's part of the Cacophony Society, the old school crowd, Michael Gump, and he created his whole band, the Trash Band, out of trash, and then our other friend Jericho Reese made the Cycle Side Bike Rodeo all out of like junk bicycles from the junkyard. So I mean, it's an extension of what was going on in Cacophony. Yes.
And there was a garbage aesthetic to a lot of what we did. And then we also did stuff that was actually, it was kind of like stealing, but it was like reverse stealing or inverse stealing. It was going to stores and putting things on shelves that didn't belong there. I don't know what we call it reverse shopping, but so like
shop on lifting.
Shop on lifting, right? So then we did end up going to Toys R Us and leaving these teddy bears we'd made that were filled with cement. There's something called cement cuddlers
and plastic explosives.
Or plastic explosives. That's what we just said just to add to the sales. Then there was a Lorena Bobbitt chew toy, so stuff like that. Go out and leave that pet shop item. But yeah, there was reverse shopping, not stealing exactly, but
and then there's the Kmart one where we stuck stickers, walked up to people and said, "How long have you been a customer of Kmart?" And they're like, "Oh, we shop here all the time." I said, "Well, we want to thank you for your patronage of Kmart," and I'd stick a sticker on their big item and say, "Your item's now free." And the next thing you know, there was like hundreds of people at the checkout line. We conveniently made our way out of the store while they were like freaking out, going, "What do you mean?"
That was a prank on French television.
French television.
Let's see. I think we have another question. Maybe anybody with a 4 on their question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
From what I've heard, it sounds like most people would find your group and its activities off-putting. Were all the events equally disagreeable, or were there some that stand out in that way?
Well,
I don't know. I've come close to going to jail a couple of times, and you know, I can't.
Well, I don't find that disagreeable.
No, but I can't go into too great a detail because of the statutes of limitations. But there was a certain incident involving a 150-foot wall of burning Christmas trees, where I was in a 5-ton truck on the 405 heading north while it was going down, in the interest of my personal freedom.
It was quite spectacular, though.
I think what Walt was really trying to get at, and the question I wrote was more like things that would be repulsive to people. And when you mentioned somebody's mentioning the haunted houses we did, well, these weren't like, this was not like your fundraiser, Elks Lodge, pancake breakfast haunted. We called it a tour of the diseased soul. And in those things, we would pull stuff together that would really, I thought would really horrify people. It would include things like nursing, there was a nursing home room where you'd have to go visit some old relative that wouldn't let you leave. There was the necrophilia. I mean, that cuts right to the chase. We had a necrophilia machine with a fabricated corpse that was having sex with another. I don't know, was it fabricated corpse? If there's 2 corpses, is it necrophilia? I don't know. Anyway, we did have a human. Well, we did have a human necrophilia event. That was attempted resurrection. We dug a fabricated corpse. Well, that's what we told him anyway. Out of the backyard. And there was a sex magic ritual attended to.
Where out of the love making, I was able to bring this dead stripper back to life.
It was amazing.
I can attest to real penetration there.
But the best part was the people that actually thought that it was a real cemetery and had the cops there the next morning.
Yeah, they came twice.
It was so funny.
That stripper is a centerpiece in his home.
Yeah.
I think there was another incident involving one of the haunted houses at the Gemini Manor, where Wood Pussy had made this Chinese bloody butcher shop, and then when they cleaned up the next day, they put all this meat and stuff out in front on the curb, and the police they came and they investigated and put the yellow tape around because they thought there was like a murder scene.
Miles of bloody bones. Actually, their installation was right next to Michael's installation. Michael's a vegetarian, so he had to go through a curtain of raw beef tongues to get into his room every day. So we hurt each other sometimes. We hurt the ones we love.
Yes.
There was under the head with the giant exploding the giant acne head with the exploding pustules. The visitors would have to rub cream on them, and then they'd blast vanilla pudding all over them. I mean, horrible stuff. Oh, the vagrants selling their scalps by the dumpster. He knows. He was Anyway, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of near the old. Maybe we should let this one go. I don't have anything else on that one. Do you, John?
No.
Okay, anybody else? Maybe somebody with a question around, number 5. Yes?
I understand that some people might confuse schoolboyish shock tactics with actual art. But weren't some of the events just plain shitty?
Absolutely. Funny you should ask that. There was an event called Potty Time that involved, it was a participatory event. Let's see, some of the activities, the displays, I have to look at my list here. There was fecal sculpting. There was like a little sculpting booth. Diaper art. We had diapers art displayed on the walls. Celebrity urine. There was a popular celebrity urine display. I mean, how do you can tell by inviting people to tell which celebrity had donated their urine for the event. Colors and opacity levels. I mean,
there was the Dung Beatles, performing band.
Beatle cover band called the Dung Beatles.
Trashed all sorts of. They trashed all sorts of famous pop songs with parody lyrics in the name of the group.
Yeah, so, and actually, this sounds very lowbrow, I suppose. Some of you might take that. But, cacophony is the word kakos in Greek. Is related to the Indo-European word kaka, which means to defecate. So we felt like we were reaching back to our most ancient roots. Anyway, I don't know if I would call that. Well, it's shitty in a good way. That's my word. Anything to add on that one?
No, not really. I mean, there were some events that what were we thinking? Lost in Spain, Mardi Gras.
Oh yeah, well, we know about those. So who has number 6? We have another 6th question. Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't know
Yeah, it was a clown theme. That was kind of a long-standing thing. I think it began one of our members had borrowed some of the suits from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and so we ended up visiting. There was lots of visits. There was lots of clowns do birthday parties, right? So since that's what clowns do, and we like to bring joy to people, we would show up where joy is least expected, like office buildings in Century City. And you go in and, we're here for the birthday party for John. There's always a birthday party, right? Always. So we're doing birthday party, Century City. We protested the lack of clowns at the Oscars.
And the lack of male frontal nudity.
Lack of full frontal nudity. That was another one. I think a lot of the clown thing also came. We sort of, as I said, we're kind of an umbrella, sort of amoeba-like organization. And we joined forces, or I should say, this guy came to town and kind of breathed new life or new something into the Cacophony. He was Chicken John, as some of you might know. He was an impresario, let's say. He ran a punk rock circus, and he, like a lot of people, he kind of worked with garbage in a way too. I mean, his circus consisted of a dog jumping up and biting soap bubbles. At least in the beginning.
That was the most talented member of that.
That was talented.
I don't know, I like the drunken tightrope walking.
The speed metal tap dancer. Anyway, so at some point, Chicken and I had moved into this house that we christened Bezonia. It was the 90s. Clowns were the thing, I don't know. So a lot of events happened there, so a lot of things became sort of circus and clown oriented. But there was also another, there was a clown faction before that, Adam, who had the killer clown suits. There was a little bit of clown rivalry that happened after that. I think Adam ended up moving into dogs. He let the clowns go and went into dogs.
Sometimes clowns just get bored, Clowns don't really have a great attention span.
The dogs. There were perks in being a dog. We got to go to the Beverly Hills Dog Show in a limo. We got blessed by Cardinal Mahoney at the Blessing of the Pets.
Yeah.
It was fun. Dogs are fun for a while, but everything's going to change.
I have to also add that the clown with no name is the producer of this film. We have a clown producer.
That's true. We have some. I believe we have a number of clowns.
We had Abu Ghraib Circus at one of the 19 caves.
Abu Ghraib Circus, yeah. Who could forget? Well, people would try, but they can't. Okay, well, let's go on. I think we're. I think that timer's not working. So
the timer's not working.
I think it's all too late. I think we're kind of on schedule. I don't seem to be. Well, you look kind of bored. Oh well. All right. So let's go to question 7. Question 7, please. Yes.
I have a comfortable question I've just decided to read. So instead, I'd rather just ask you to go on about clowns and circuses more.
Well, I got an anecdote. The Suicide Club. Going back, they had a really great gag that they did, and the gag was that the city bus pulls up and the clown gets on the bus. And then the city bus goes to the next stop, and the clown gets on the bus. And more clowns get on the bus until after a certain amount of time, the bus is just like all clowns. Now, Dave Warren, one of the founding members of the Suicide Club, told me how it really went down. And the bus pulls up, the first couple of clowns get on the bus, and then the bus goes to the next stop, and there's like a few clowns waiting at the bus stop, but the bus driver is afraid of clowns, so he keeps going. And those clowns are like, whoa, and they start running after the bus. And the next stop, there's more clowns, and the bus driver keeps going. So that's how it really went down.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I remember, oh yeah, that's true. We also did, not all of our events were like as subversive like that. Some are more traditional with the clowns. We called a very traditional passion play, all performed by clowns, but the text was completely from the King James Bible. I think you saw, there was a clip, no, that was the Easter Bunny crucifixion. I don't know. I get our crucifixions, there was the third crucifixion with the blood spurting. That was
the miracle of
yeah. Anyway, a lot of crucifixions, a lot of clowns. I know we had a clown. I think there's someone in the audience who had a very lovely clown costume that was a spitting image of John Wayne Gacy's. Passion plays. John Wayne Gacy, the clown that went to jail. It wasn't. Oh, remember that? That's the one at the. We went to a fiddle. It was Topanga.
Stop fiddling with that clown banjo. Whatever. So that's the name of the event.
That was the name of the event. What it really was a bunch of drunk clowns showed up at the Bluegrass Festival that was held out in one of the old Western movie set towns. So we went in there blazing, and it didn't take long, really. There was something about language, is what the state park officer said, the language. And then there was the banging on each other with plastic bats. So basically, they didn't want any more. Parents complained. So they threw one of the clowns in a cowboy jail. It was like a little jail set with pictures of wanted and stuff like that.
That's like Burning Man. We're not talking about Burning Man. This film isn't about Burning Man, but just a little known fact. Burning Man actually has a Burning Man jail on Burning Man's premises, where they take you, if they bust you for whatever, substances or whatever, they take you to Burning Man jail. And it's just about like holding you in this place until your friends. No, it's a jail. It's away from the place, but it's about extorting your friends out of $300 to get you out of Burning Man jail.
Well, speaking of things that aren't exactly part of. I'm sorry. Are there any other questions out there about? Maybe something with a number 8 on it? Oh, yes.
I realize that you probably think that you're the only people in the world who've ever pulled a prank, but don't you think there may be a little of your so-called cacophony happening outside of the society?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's a very good question.
We can take criticism. It's okay.
The best stuff is always done in very small numbers, and sometimes it just takes one evil genius to do this. And this friend Patrick Tierney, who was far too much of an iconoclast to ever join with the membership of something like the Cacophony Society. He's just not a joiner, but he's the epitome of it. He orchestrated this prank against Chris Saridis on one of the radio stations, where he produced these long-lost recordings from JFK's very favorite band leader in Cuba. And they were really, Joey Altruda had manufactured these things, and they fucked them up and made them sound like they were old. And so Saridis bit, he played these for a couple of weeks, and then eventually my friend brought one of the actors from Scarface down to the station and had him pretend to be the band leader. And they carried on about it on air for about an hour, and then they dropped the shoe and told him that it was all a prank, and he broke down and started crying on the air.
All right. So that's kind of where we wrap up on that. We make people cry. I mean, honestly, I think that's all the questions I collected from you people before the show.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, are there any other kinds of questions? Oh. Now there's no question.
Yeah, I got a question. I was talking to your brother, and he told me when you were 6 years old that you had taken a Bible, a bunch of porno magazines, I think Amputee Times or something, earthworms and domestic beetles, and out of this ensemble, you geniusly put it together, and elements of the Kabbalah poured forth. And that your brother told me, this was a inspiration later on towards the end of the Cacophony Society. Could you go into that, please?
Well, we weren't sure if this was a Kabbalistic thing or contact with the higher masters, but there was, something happened. I couldn't see for six days after, but on the 7th, I had a vision of this icon that's on the bucket button. And I went on and I asked John if he could make a film. And I think that's in the press release for the film, the sort of supernatural mandate to make and distribute and otherwise financially support the film.
There's one more question over here.
No, there's another question. Sorry, you see what happens with real questions.
What does Cacophony of the 21st century hold? Will there be lots of futuristic silver clothing, or will there be more of a retro-featured steampunk thing with lots of corsets and goggles everywhere? And will everyone be named Artemis?
I don't know, did you all hear that question? No. Well, let's hear the question. It's a very good one.
You gonna repeat it? We can repeat it if you don't want to.
Yeah, we have it right here.
What does Cacophony of the 21st century hold? Will there be lots of futuristic silver clothing, or will it be more of a retro-future steampunk thing with lots of corsets and goggles everywhere? And will everyone be named Artemis?
What do you think about that, John?
I don't know. That's a long-winded question, but I believe most of the innovators of Cacophony have moved on to other things, other models, and the best stuff seems to come from where you least expect it, and anything that's unpredictable has a limited lifespan just by its definition, and I think a lot of the fun kids have just moved on.
Finito!
Yeah!
Yeah!
I was actually just giving a brief summation of John's answer. But was there another real question? Yes, please.
I was wondering, I still go to Cacophony events now, and I was wondering, has there ever been anything that was more kind of tinged towards politics, or kind of like Yes Men? Because I have an idea about something that we did at some of the protest rallies we were having about it lately.
Yes and no. Yes and no, because by definition, Cacophony is a non-political, non-religious, non-commercial organization. But
you'd think that would be something we'd say to get funding, but it's not.
There's been political events. I mean, but it's definitely not about politics. Even though politics, like when you get any group of people together, certainly enters into it on some form, but it's not about like going out and doing social cause. It's about absurdity.
I think that, I mean, it's, having these rules about what we're supposed to be doing is obviously kind of absurd. I think those rules are in place so that things wouldn't get hijacked one way. So, everything is gray.
No, there was some political events in San Francisco, but they had an absurd base to them. Like they protested Fantasia. Okay, that's not really the political one.
That's a hot button political.
No, they did another thing where they were going to pass some kind of ordinance in San Francisco against the homeless, and they dressed up in Victorian gear, and they had an event called Let Them Eat Cake, and so that was very much like a.
You guys heard of the Billionaires for Welfare?
Billionaires
probably for welfare?
Sounds like probably like an extension of Billionaires for Bush.
That's an Andrew Boyd thing. It's an Andrew Boyd.
Yeah, they're really funny, and I think there is a certain kinship between
Oh, there's a lot of groups doing.
Zombies for War, remember?
Sorry.
Zombies for War.
Zombies.
Yeah.
That was at the DNC years ago.
That was really fun.
MTV wanted to interview us, and all he would say was, really like that. Yes?
I think I picked this up at one of your events some time ago. I've been carrying it around for my wallet.
Does it have sharp edges? Is it a tongue depressor? Oh, do you know where that was?
No, I was going to ask you.
No, I mean, do you know where that's been?
Whose phone number is on that?
Is that from Cody?
Oh, God, I used to think about my home phone number.
It's been in my wallet. I just.
Oh, this was a nice. I like
I'm not
this.
giving it down.
I just say you can't see, but this is from PottyCon, and it's a little like ice cream spoon that says "Eat shit." We'd have a lot of little charming getaways like that. Don't you cut those? Or
What's very funny is that PottyCon was my girlfriend and wife's first event, and that I ever took her to. We'd all been dating for 3 weeks. And I took her to this event. She was this very quiet, West Side girl, and so the entire time we're there, she thought that we were actually backstage, and there was going to be a show that was going on, and we took her almost like the entire evening to realize that, oh, this is the event, and she was the most bizarre thing she'd ever seen in her life.
And he's still together.
Yes, put up with me for this long.
My girlfriend at the time refused to go, and it didn't last much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, any others? Yes?
I get the feeling like I've been like a half a step behind you guys for
Well, I've been
about
saying
25 years. Do you have any association with the Fool's Guild, or the Obscene Juggler, or any of those kind of people?
With which, the first?
The Fool's Guild?
The Fool's Guild. You know what? One of those guys came to one of our events once. I mean, I know of them. But it's kind of like.
They're a lot tamer than you guys.
What's that?
They're a lot tamer than you are.
Oh yeah. Are they like kind of the Ren Fair?
Yeah, kind of.
Not really. We went to the Ren Fair once, covered with bubonic sores. And we ate out of the garbage cans. What's that?
That's when it was up in the garage.
I think so, yeah. We ate out of the garbage cans and tried to touch people.
There's a lot of drunk wenches that were trying to make you feel better. It's great.
Let's not talk about that. Anybody else? Any other questions? Johnny? Any other complaints? Yes.
Did you guys steal most of your ideas from flash mobs?
No, it was Improv Everywhere we stole them from.
Do you want those DVDs now?
Yeah, I have to say that Charlie Todd became my 1,000th friend on Facebook.
Who's Charlie Todd?
He's Improv Everywhere.
Oh, the Improv Everywhere guy.
Moving on to the next two.
Yeah. Well, here, let me just say that the film is nearing completion, and it's played MoMA, New York MoMA, in a small preview like what we saw today, a little bit bigger than today, but it will be playing New York MoMA again. It will be playing festivals, and just sign the mailing list, and stay in touch to find out when the dates are. Anyway,
What's the name of the film again?
Into the Zone, the story of the Cacophony Society.
Oh, you have cards?
I have cards.
If only there were postcards I could remember.
In fact,
are they free, those lovely glossy cards?
Free? Why? As a matter of fact,
surely the buttons must be $5, $6.
Yeah, well, I'm running a little low on the buttons, but yes. Anyway, there you have it. That's the.
So you have this project. What's next with this project? What are you doing with the film?
I'm promoting it. I mean, and touring with it. Just all of the painful stuff that you have to do when you make a movie.
Right. So you go to film festivals?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you like going to film festivals?
I've never been to one. I've never really had any interest in going into one. But it's entered in Cannes right now. I mean, let's keep our hooves crossed, right? But I don't know. I'm kind of getting a very quick and rude education in film festivals, but that's part of the game, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And I think what we're going to do now, Gene, we're going to have you. What you're going to, we're going to stop. Al, you're going to come back with Art of Bleeding. We're going to have Gene come out and talk about record promotion. And everyone, let's thank John again. John, obviously you're around through the salon, so people want to ask you questions.
I'm
you're here.
out.
Perfect. Good. So Gene, do you want to come on up and thank you guys. So Gene, I don't want to introduce you too heavily, except that of course you're a regular here. Yeah, you're all the time. You're heavily recruiting. There's a lot of good stuff to say. And so on the topic of pranks, you're going to talk about promotions, which are sort of masked as pranks. Yes. To get records played on the radio. Right. And give us a time frame. What time frame are we talking about?
Oh, the anecdotes I'll tell are probably from the 60s and 70s.
Okay, so this is really the golden age. The good days of FM radio.
Oh, AM radio.
AM radio. Okay, good. All right. Okay. So let's go.
Okay. So as Richard said, these aren't really pranks. They're sort of deceptions in service of commerce. Having said that, I think the Chris Saridis thing is the best one I've ever heard. So props to you guys for that. It's Patrick Kearney. Well, it's great. Anyway, and I guess what I'll tell you here will assume a certain familiarity on your part with popular music of the last 40 or 50 years or something. So if you don't understand something or some reference, just raise your hand and I'll throw it away. But anyway, radio and records, until recently, had a really very symbiotic relationship. I mean, in the last 20 years or so, all sorts of additional research and all sorts of additional venues for exposure of music has sort of diminished radio's role to some degree, but in the 50s and 60s particularly, and also in the 70s, radio was the only game in town, and so the most important thing for a record company was to have a promotion man develop a relationship with disc jockeys who at one time picked the music that they played on the air, and do what you could to influence as many places as possible. Now, in terms of some of these pranks, or whatever you want to call them, there are very benign ones. On the very benign end are things like they used to have cover battles between records. That means that one song would have 2 or 3 different versions, so that you don't have that too much anymore. But competing record companies would have competing records of the same song. And a very benign version of this would be both promotion men would have to go to a radio station and push the record. And in at least one case, it was Atlantic Records, the promotion head who was pushing one record sent a telegram to the radio station and said, you know, you're playing the wrong side of this record, would you just flip it over? This is when records had 2 sides. Would you please flip it over, and signed it in the name of the other promotion man from the other company, so that the guy turns it over, and then of course this guy gets the play and gets to get that. So that's where. And there are other typical things like on the retail level, like radio stations typically did, and they still call retail stores, if there are any left, to find out what records are moving. So a record retailer, a distributor who supplies the retailer with records, might give a store 100 free records, knowing that that is a store that is going to get called by a radio station and say, can you tell us what's hot this week? And when they do that, then the guy in the retail, having these free records that he can sell for nothing, he tells the radio station, this thing is really hot. And then, of course, the radio station thinks that it's happening as a hit and plays it more. But 2 examples that are sort of related. Anyone see Spinal Tap? Yeah. You remember the guy who says, kick my ass? Okay. Artie Fufkin. Yes, Artie Fufkin. I worked with the real guy at Warner Brothers. There's a guy named Lou Dennis who was a promotion director, and he told me this, but many other people told me this story too, is when an important dignitary from a label was coming into town, the local promotion man would very often say to the disc jockey, look, I have Barry Gordy coming in from Detroit at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and to make it look like, you know, let him know I'm doing my job, I want you to play the new Marvin Gaye record at about 1:45. So they're driving in their car, and guy's punching the buttons. And so, here's the record. So that is a stroke that the local promotion man gets for himself in the face of the national guy, the boss who's coming down. He looks very good. But there's a guy named Pete Marino in San Francisco, a famous flamboyant gay promotion man, who took it a little bit further. When cassettes were first introduced in 1962, Pete Marino had a device in his car that would enable him to have a cassette machine hooked up to the buttons on his radio. So that now Barry Gordy comes to town and he gets a ride, say he gets a ride with Pete Marino, and says, let's turn it on, let's see how my song, how the new Supremes record is doing. So Pete Marino can punch KFWB, there's the record. He can punch KYA, there's the record. So, you know, he punches all these records, and the head of the company then leaves town. I got San Francisco covered. I mean, I'm on every station here, but in fact, maybe some little station in Sonoma was playing it, and when he leaves town, that's the end of the scams. I love that one. Anyway, and that came from Artie Kaufman, actually, the first one. It's another little story. This is a promotion man. Some of these take place in San Francisco, because that's where I was trying to research a book on all this. A guy by the name of Don Graham was a local promotion man for Warner Brothers, and he got a call in 1962, I think, from Albert Grossman, who was managing people, who managed Dylan, and had a folk trio from New York that he wanted to bring to Frisco and make him happen. He called up Don Graham. He said, I hear that you can really make things happen. Can you get this act booked into The Hungry Eye? And Don Graham asks around, yeah, I guess. So they book in Peter, Paul, and Mary, who nobody's really heard of yet. And they do great business, and they're there for like 3 months or something. It goes great. Graham winds up getting Peter, Paul, and Mary signed to Warner Brothers. And they're at The Hungry Eye for about 3 months, and they want to, Warner's going to release their first album. So now Don Graham knows he's got to create some more buzz for this. He had been asked by the College of Marin, which is over wherever it is, I don't know, Tamalpais or something. Could we have Peter, Paul, and Mary come and play our Friday concert? And Don Graham said, yes, I can get that for you. If you can promise me that next week, when the record comes out and they're still appearing at the Hungry Eye, that I can have a riot at the Hungry Eye. And so they say, yeah, sure. So they come out and they play the football rally and they sing Lemon Tree and all this stuff. And then Friday night, when they're appearing there, like 1,000 kids, 1,000 students from the College of Marin show up, and they're throwing stink bombs and water balloons and all this stuff. And it looks, wow, look at it. The lines are around the block. You know. And the Chronicle writes it up to the end. Folk trio causes riot. And meanwhile, Don Graham was, of course, had a professional photographer there doing real good work with 8x10s and stuff. So he's got pictures of it. And after the Chronicle reports it, he calls up Herb Cain, a columnist, and he says, Herb, do you know about that riot? You know that riot that happened the other night? And Herb says, yeah. And Don Graham says, well, I have pictures of that. He says, well, come on, bring them down. And he shows them these very professional pictures of the kids throwing stuff and the picket signs and the whole thing. And Herb Cain says, geez, these are very professional. How'd you get them? He said, I just happen to have a photographer there. So the whole, and to create a further buzz after that, this is again in service of the Peter, Paul, and Mary album when it came out. Oh, he also did another thing. He made an acetate of one of the songs from the album, Lemon Tree, which they had no single, and he started giving it to San Francisco radio stations, and they started playing it, and telling them that that was the new single by Peter, Paul, and Mary, which then forced the label to make it the single, because it wasn't the single in the first place. But the other thing he did in service of them is, if you know Frisco or Marin fairly well, there's those big tunnels in Marin County on the approach to the Golden Gate Bridge, Waldo Grade and around there. Don Graham got another promotion man, and they climbed up that hill, and Don held the guy by his legs, and this guy, upside down, painted P, P, and M on the top of that tunnel, so that thousands of commuters had to see this going into Frisco every day. And anyways, that. Oh, one more. This is one more. There's a guy in Philadelphia, which has always been a great hotbed of payola, for one thing, and just good record business anecdotes and stuff. There's a guy named Buzzy Curtis who is, I think he's still around. But anyway, he was a promotion man, and he had several lines of record labels. And he had a young kid who worked for him, a young black kid named Harold Childs. Harold just wanted to be in the business. Harold eventually became head of promotion at A&M Records a long time later. But at this time, Harold, this is 1962 or something, I don't know, 3, was just a gopher for this guy Buzz Curtis. And whatever Buzz Curtis needed him to do, he would do. Like they would set up these record hops, and I don't know if people remember what those were, but the DJs would have a hop at a local high school or American Legion Hall, and an actor would come and lip sync, and they would charge admission and blah, blah, blah. Often the label would provide the act for free so that the DJ who's throwing it would then play the record, and it's sort of unofficial appeal. At any rate, Harold Childs goes out one Friday night with this guy Buzz Curtis in his car. They're going to a hop that Buzz Curtis is putting on for WIBG or whatever the hell it is. And Harold gets in the car, and Buzz Curtis says, "I want you to reach back there in the back and get that stuff." And Harold reaches into the back seat. He, "What's all this?" And there's a cape, there's a top hat, and a cane. And he said, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And Buzz Curtis says, "Well, Gene Chandler, who sang the Duke of Earl, is supposed to be here tonight, but he can't make it. So you're going to be Gene Chandler tonight. You're black, you know, as it works." So they go in and they turn the record on, and he comes out, Duke, 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 just the whole thing. And it works. You know, the kids fall for it, and they leave. But as they're leaving this high school or wherever it is, these 3 or 4, you know, punk kids come up to Harold Childs, who's now just impersonated Gene Chandler, and say, "Wait a minute, wouldn't you remember the 5 Satins last week? I saw you did this before." And they chased him. He barely escaped from his life. So that's basically it. There are probably a lot more, which I can't remember. These are the ones I cited. So if anybody... Oh, I got to say too, in terms of celebrity, not celebrity urine, celebrity content, that, if you do know anything about the history of pop music, you may know a Rolling Stones song called The Under-Assistant West Coast Promotion Man, which sort of gently jibes their promotion man from London Records in about 1964. And Ian Whitcomb, who had many hit records and is right there. Please raise your hand. You want to tell them that?
Well, you know, it's on the flip side of satisfaction. And George, it's about a man called George Sherlock, who actually just died. And he made his whole career. I mean, he was my promo man. He actually made my one hit, "You Turned Me On," into a hit by just plugging it. But that was his one claim to fame. It's kind of sad. And I went to his funeral in this church, and they had a huge photograph of George wearing, I'm disgusted to say, a cap with that awful Rolling Stones tongue coming out. And I thought, this is his legacy? That he's proud of being this? Anyway, I got to make a short story short. I asked the LA Times to do an obit, and they refused. That's typical of the Times. But I got a friend of mine on the London Times, and his obit appeared in the London Times. And so really, I'm so glad that George is remembered in Britain for being the West Coast promotion man.
Under-assistant.
The under-assistant, sorry.
So anyway, that's it. Anybody have any questions about this or comments? I wish I'd handed out some things like you guys. Anybody? Yes.
All right, so we know they've done these promotions for years and years and years for recording artists. Do you think it's changed any since that we have YouTube promoting all these different videos?
Yeah.
Or is it the same sort of racket where industry people are behind it?
The thing is, if you're at a label, you have to generate buzz somehow, both at the trade level. You got to pay off or cajole or flatter these disc jockeys, and then you also have to create buzz in the public. And now with YouTube and all sorts of things, and in fact, going back to the beginning of MTV and video, all these other avenues open up. The other thing I think that didn't necessarily kill it, I mean, there are still guys who will take, I don't know, some stupid thing into a station and try to create a buzz. But I think research, which is done in so many good things, like television and stuff, research, I think, really knocked the legs out from under a lot of this carnival flashiness, because you have things like the BDS, which is a system which tells you how many times your record got played now, and you have SoundScan, which tells you, even including downloads and Amazon stuff, how many copies of the record have been sold. So a promotion man can't really go in and just skate by and bullshit anymore. There's all these sheets that say exactly what's happening with the record. So in a way, the romance of this, and that's why I hope I can write a book about it someday. It's kind of gone. Yeah.
Do people even go city to city anymore? It seems like there's 4 companies that own all the radio stations and decide what the playlists are.
That's true too, and that's another aspect that I should have thought of too, is the consolidation of everything. Because at one time, these stories that I'm telling actually have to do with mainly up to about the mid-60s when the disc jockey himself would pick what he was going to play. And he had a local program director, but in subsequent years, I mean by the 80s even, the national program directors were telling everybody what they're going to play. So much of it is just gone. Yeah.
Maybe just a couple minutes. I mean, it seems to me that this is a trend in all media, that in the 60s AM radio was very highly localized. I mean, you had, so take us from what was the golden age to today, which is this monolithic, vertically integrated corporate structure that was desperately in need of stirring up.
Yeah, please listen to my show too when you can. Anyway,
how can we do that?
You can listen to, you can go to luxuriamusic.com where Ian and I both have shows. Mine's Atomic Cocktail, this is the Ian Whitman show. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Roughly, what I would say is in the 50s and early 60s, like when I was growing up, it was AM, and that was the only game in town. And then in 1968 is when FM came along and Rock FM. But even then, they were whittling away things. At the beginning of Rock FM, those disc jockeys like Tom Donahue and various people here in this town picked what they played. They picked what they played, and so you might follow a DJ because he had taste that you liked, and it was pretty expansive. And these guys relatively knew what they were doing. I sort of don't include, you know, fatheads like Jim Ladd in this, you know, professional keeper of the flame of this. Most of these guys were pretty good, or Chris Doritas for that matter. Did I tell you how good I think the Frank is? Anyway, but the expansiveness of 68 FM rock also got whittled away, because in the beginning, I can remember hearing things, you know, blues on there, country things, rock things. I can remember hearing long monologues by Lord Buckley that would be played, just great comedy stuff. But then I guess by about 70 or so, FM rock got transmuted by the corporate radio into AOR, album-oriented rock, and they decided that, you know, they mainly wanted men of a certain age and blah, blah, blah. And they jettisoned things so that there's no more, you're not going to hear Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters anymore. You're going to hear Rory Gallagher and Eric Clapton doing their version of the blues, because a white 25-year-old kid doesn't want to hear an old black man. So the theory went. And then I think over time, more and more edges get shaved off, and in the great tradition of, I guess advertising leak and business, I don't know, I never took a course in it, but radio formats just seem to being shaved smaller and smaller and smaller, so that if you look at a Billboard chart now, it's radio airplane stuff, it's got, you know, formats like active rock, modern rock, cock rock, I don't know, every kind of rock. And each one of these has some little perimeter that defines it and as being different from all the others. It's almost the same thing as, you know, Bristol Myers taking up shelf space in your grocery store. It's like selling the same things to different people, but telling them that they're special. And can a woman take an aspirin that's meant for a man? Of course not. You got to buy this one. You got to buy a different. It's kind of like that. So it's market segmentation, and largely that characterizes radio today.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, so you know the big corporate entities have just sucked the life out of radio, but on the left, you know, you have like college radio, or you have these public stations where there's still, it seems
online
like,
stations.
yeah. Now, does that form of like promotion still go on, or payola, or any of that?
No, I'm not that aware of it anymore, but it probably doesn't to that degree, because most of those things don't have the numbers that the old stuff had. I mean, everything is more fragile now. So I don't think so.
You've never been offered a little something?
Too would be they would be subject to the research and all that stuff. So in terms of conning somebody or paying them $150 to do something extra, it's like, I'm sure some of it goes on and cocaine goes on and stuff like that, but I think less of that carnival circus type stuff.
Gene, what would it cost to get an ad for this zone film onto your show?
Well, about $500.
$500, yeah, if that's what you were wondering.
We're on luxury and that's free.
What's the
because we can't get the advertisers, it's free.
What's the cacophony
What's
price?
Ken
Cooper's salon price?
About $100.
And what can we do for trade?
Well, you have to be after and we'll figure something out.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right, so Gene, I want to get Al back on with Art of Bleeding. I want everyone to thank Gene. Thank you.
I'm going to start in a minute. So this is my indoor siren. Like I talk about people. I can talk more. I think people want to talk. I'm just going to single out people that are talking. You're in the back, you can talk. That's good. You're a speaker, so you can talk. That's what speakers do. Okay, sit there. Huh? Oh, I have pigeon talking, that's more common. So, we'll turn this off, I guess. Yeah. Emergency's over. So, the art of bleeding is incredibly difficult to explain, and I'm actually very grateful to have this opportunity to try to explain how all of these disparate elements supposedly fit together. In John's film, he talks about different entities that were involved with Cacophony and where they had it. So he has a little segment on that. So I just thought I'd start with that. And I'm going to basically be talking about how this Art of Bleeding project that I started, how it tied in with Cacophony and things that came from it. It's not really about pranks. There is a hoax element involved. I mean, hoaxes and pranks, I know it sounds like similar, but within our tribe, we have many words for these things. So there is a difference, I think.
It's about education.
It's about education, too. But we'll talk about the hoax, and I'm going to take this. This is my Reverend Al. This thing is hot, and it kind of burns like holy water. So. Take that off. And I'm going to stop there, don't worry. Put this on just so you trust me.
I was finding it strangely attractive.
Okay, now I'm speaking under this is my different hat, which I call a jacket. So I will stop yakking for a second and we'll show a very brief explanation that will serve to confuse.
Now I do this ambulance show. It's ostensibly about safety.
It's as loud as it goes.
Fire safety. I'm right in this ambulance. It's the reality.
When the guy talks about safety, I become more excited, especially excited if I make myself afraid. It's called Art of Bleeding.
Well, you probably couldn't hear that very well, and I don't know if it matters.
Should we play that again?
I think that that's as loud as it goes.
Hang on a minute. Well,
oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry, guys. It's so short. We'll just play it again, just to indulge. Is that better?
Now I do this ambulance show. It's ostensibly about safety.
Fire safety. I'm right in this ambulance. It's the reality.
When the guy talks about safety, I become more excited, especially excited if I make myself afraid. It's called Art of Bleeding.
Okay, now I'm sure now you understand. Okay, so that kind of is a more comprehensive picture. But what I'll show now is another super short thing. It's not yet. It's just a trailer to this more recent project we do called the Gory Details project. There was some gore in that, and there's more gore in here. But we'll talk about how that fits into the big picture. Please.
Gory details. Gory details.
Stories are true.
Gory details.
Tales of trauma told by you.
Gory details.
Recordings made at public sites.
My nurse is wearing fishnet tights.
Lifted for the safety aim.
Teachers lessons with each day.
When this spreads the air disguise.
It's sprinkled with a safety
desk. Call me details now!
Okay, yeah. Well now, I don't know if that adds to your understanding. But, well, in one way it's simpler. In one way, what I can say is, this is kind of a parody of an educational children's show. It's like, I don't know, it's like some Sid and Marty Krofft characters like fell off a bus and had to like fend for themselves or something. That's how we see it. And then there's the blood element. Coming from Cacophony, a lot of what we wanted to do with, I mean, working with the kids show format was a good idea, it seemed like, because it just naturally made anything naughty more shocking. So putting in these, like, obviously thinly veiled, fetishy nurses with gore and other disgusting things seemed to be a good recipe for kind of like pushing on people a little in a fun way, getting them overstimulated and, you know, I don't know, provocative or interesting way. But there was more. There was actually more. Let's go to. Oh, there's some more taboo imagery. Go ahead and just go to the next one there. Yeah. So when I say blood, when it's called Art of Bleeding, people assume, oh, it's all going to be blood and then blood with sexy nurses, or they actually at first they say the sexy nurses, then they think about the blood. But so we have these things that are a little bit maybe off-putting or confusing. There is blood. There are nurses. There is things that kind of twiddle people's buttons. Let's go to the next one. So this is from another show. So it's not all sexy. It's not all erotic. We also actually this image was from this was from our car crash show. There was some footage in that in John's thing of that. We actually created a fake car crash with dumping cars in a parking lot using a crane to kind of like dump them on each other. Populated it with bloody actors. One of them, and drunk driving was a theme, which I guess is not everybody's idea for a comedy show. But the other thing we do, it really is like, I don't know if you have the red asphalt. If you've ever been to traffic school, you know those red asphalt films. Well, I don't have an objection that people are scared straight a little. If they want to rubberneck. I mean, it may or may not, it doesn't have to be funny, it can be educational, I'm not going to fight that, but that's not always been the primary intent. So we had the car crash show where we sort of had these grisly scenes. This actually was one of our players at we get invited to these like kind of goth, fetishy club events, and they want to see a bunch of sexy nurses. So sometimes we bring stuff like this instead, just to keep people guessing. And the projectors, you'll see he's like a two-fisted projectionist, two-kneed fisted whatever projectionist. Now I'll explain a little more about the role of projections in the whole project. But that's so we got that. We got that from Cacophony. I kind of brought that with us, where we got to shock and provoke and just kind of open people up to strange new horizons. Let's go to the next slide. Spokesperson, his decapitated head is on display here. Abram the Safety Ape, he was one of the sort of Sid and Marty Krofft characters, New Zoo Review, I don't know, you pick your comparison. The
New Zoo Review.
But he was he's our spokes mascot, or spokes ape, Finian. And so the kids show aspect involved, a lot of it comes from him. But the evolution of Abram was very, like all of this stuff, it was very kind of accidental, and things just got bumped together and then ended up going this way. I had a gorilla suit. I mean, most of you probably have a gorilla suit somewhere in your closet. And there was a Cacophony event going on. It was one of the events where, John mentioned this event actually. We, after Christmas, people bring their old trees down to the beach and create massive conflagrations. And I actually had been, by 1999, I kind of burned out. That's good, fun. I got a little bit burned out. I've been doing a lot. It took me a lot of hours out of my week. So I kind of gave it over to other people. So I wasn't going to the events that much. And I felt a little funny about going. So I thought, a little shy, actually. I mean, like, I didn't know what people were going to ask me. Why aren't you doing anymore? I kind of like, so I thought, I'll just do what any shy person does, and I'll just wear a gorilla suit. So I kind of showed up, and I was out in the sand and like kind of in the dark. You could barely see me, just standing there in my gorilla suit watching. Just hoping somebody would see me but not know what to think. Kind of never getting close enough for maybe to talk to me. Then years later, John says, oh, I see, that's the first time I remember seeing Abram the safety. But I hadn't thought of that actually at the time, but he thought it was Abram was supervising the dangerous fire situation. But I'm not very good when it comes to dangerous fire. I have a history. I'm not always that.
There's the hallway of trees. That one went off.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, people would run through. I think Rich yeah, ran through a hall, like a corridor, gone through burning
about
trees.
A 75-foot hallway of trees.
Yeah, it was amazing. I passed on that one because they had to sit there. Being a bad idea.
Safety.
So I think so that's Abram. That's kind of how he got involved. Let's go to the next one. It's just another charming image of Abram. He's always there. He's always on the site when something goes wrong. Yes, it's a zebra hit by a plane. Go to the next one. All right, now, so as I said, I can be a little shy. When I worked with the Cacophony Society, I was always behind the scenes. I was, oh my God, have you not been able to see the whole thing?
Okay.
I feel terrible. I'm going to put my priest outfit back on. I feel so guilty. Okay. So when I started doing Art of Bleeding, I wasn't sure I wanted to be in front of people, and I chose. So I kind of went with this idea that I'd be bandaged. I thought that the mystery was kind of exciting. And actually, what I was doing was I was borrowing.
No, we didn't.
I was borrowing again from another previous Cacophony event where I had shown up for a birthday party as a character we called Faceless Boy. And it was very much like this character who is not me. Only this character is me. The faceless character that we use in the shows tends to vary a lot. I think two of them are actually in the room also. The earlier Cacophony incarnation of the Faceless Boy was a very debilitated child, horrible burn injuries, who wanted to celebrate his birthday at Chuck E. Cheese. So I showed up at Chuck E. Cheese with my head bandaged, but I was, very skittish. Somebody's been through that kind of thing. It's very skittish, so there was lots of lurching from the table and knocking over food. Then sort of impulsive playing whack-a-mole. I was wrangled. I escaped to the bathroom. I think I tried to wash my hands in the urinal, and then eventually I was wrangled back to the table. And then the Chuck E. Cheese show began. So there was, it went on for a while. I was terrified. I don't know if there was any reference to fire in the show, but
until Chuck E. Cheese himself showed up.
Chuck E. Cheese showed up, and it just won my heart. I went up, I embraced the animatronic figure for a long time. I heard the gears kind of laboring. I think it was trying to move somewhere else. But I just held on, and by this point, the room had kind of cleared out. A lot of people had left. So that was the Faceless Boy in short. It was just a horrible, horrible, unpleasant situation. The Faceless Boy, as I said, has been played by many different people. There was even a female. We recently created a female partner to we call him Dr. Sunshine, and Dr. Sunshine, Missy Sunshine, is this new partner. Let's see Missy. So this is Missy, and you'll notice. Well, this is this idea that came to me when I had that birthday party. One of the things that one of the people gave me was very considerate. Was they gave me a Mr. Potato Head, because a Faceless Boy with no features is going to be very, identify with a potato head that you have stick noses and eyes and eyebrows on, right? So it's kind of a human potato head, and this is Mrs. Sunshine.
One day we'll meet the next. I'm a creature of fantasy, a sexual.
Mrs. Potato Head, I don't know what happened there. But she was a...
One day we'll meet the next.
Okay. She was,
Lady lost the projector.
Lost the projector. What, did something get hit? Just a second, sorry guys.
I think you might have hit the power cord, so just
just push it back on the wall.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Okay, it's gonna be a second back up. So Missy Sunshine shows up to shows with many different guises, and Dr. Sunshine finds that sort of variety that any couple dreams about. The male can have a different woman every night. Potato Head style.
Blonde one day, brunette the next. I'm a creature of fantasy, a sexual Mrs. Potato Head.
All right then. They like hearing it many times. It kind of takes a while to get over your horror. Okay, wait. All right. So let's see.
We're getting a record industry payoff for playing this.
So Mrs. Potato. These are some of the faceless characters that we talked about, and let's see. Let's go to let's go to the next film. Now this explains why I identify with fire. The characters are by fire so clearly. This is a show I did in my friend's circus actually, and I had 18 magnesium strobes glued to my outfit. So we'll just take a moment and enjoy. Well, I thought I'd take them to a polyester dress for protection.
I like the piano.
Apparently polyester melts.
Yes.
So this went on for a while. And you'll see my friend Chicken is on stage now with a pitcher of beer. So beer does save lives, people. That's for sure.
You can't really throw liquid on that.
No, it wasn't hard liquor. That would have been really good. All right, so this explains my identification. I mean, there's been lots of other fire incidents, but this explains my identification with those injured through fire. Another thing that I brought out of Cacophony was the idea that we would steal media and appropriate media, use it different ways it wasn't intended. The idea that I would, since this was supposedly an educational project, I would take educational films, and it's a perfect thing to satirize because they're so, they're dogmatic, they're didactic. Nobody wants to listen to these things the straightforward way. So I would edit them and into more creative ways to say my message. And I also didn't know a lot of actors at the time, so I thought let's just make the films do the acting. So let's take a really quick look at one of these reappropriated films. This is a Valentine's release. Next one.
Loving others and being loved is a good feeling, a feeling everyone wants to share.
You've just experienced emotion.
I want to have that kind of love. That kind of love. That kind of love. That kind of love.
Unreasoning, illogical emotion. How do you choose a date?
How can you tell when
What about Anne?
really?
What about Anne? Your heartbeat changes. She knows how to have a good time. And your breathing changes. Anne would be fun on a date. Yes, he'd enjoy that. Sweat glands in your skin.
All right. Anyway, it goes, yes.
That's a very popular one on YouTube.
Yes, people seem, it's a holiday classic. So this idea, the idea that I wanted to fuck with these old films kind of evolved into something else. It had to do with subliminal advertising. It had to do, if you've seen Clockwork Orange, there's what's called the Ludovic technique or something, but the idea of using projected film to condition people. And so our mission was educational, so how would we use these films? So there's a little clip here showing how we called it phantasmagoric conditioning. So let's have a look at that, this very fast little.
That is because your soul is fly.
Yeah, so You've all learned something now. Art of Bleeding has always been advertised as a entity that teaches the unconscious mind, which really got us off the hook for not teaching anything that anybody could ever produce consciously or tell any government agencies that were here to record this. So we focused on the unconscious mind. It was sort of subliminal. When you watched that, all of your memories of watching these sorts of educational films in school, they all came flooding back. And we liken the experience, and the reason there's sort of a violent feel to it is we liken it to what happens at the moment of death. Our whole life flashes before our eyes. It's a very profound experience. It sinks in at a deeper level. So even without learning anything, you've come to our show, you've given us $10, $15, $20 even, and everybody's happy. I mean, you've learned something through the system. So that is this phantasmagoric conditioning, another part of our show. Now this is all going to fit together, believe me. So we have that. Then we have the kids show. Let's go back to the kids show. Let's think about that. Let's go to the next picture. Kids show. When I grew up in the 70s, I was always told in these kids shows that anything was possible and that our imagination was magical. Anything could happen. And I always, I knew that was bullshit and always resented that. So we've taken magic and we've kind of given it we've played with it in a sort of darker way. The Magic Safety Dust is featured in the Gory Details series. Our ambulance is called the Magic Ambulance, and it transports people to other realities. We actually have a real ambulance. It's gone to lots of realities, but most of them I can't remember anymore. Let's go to the next picture. Oh, and that no, not that kind of magic. That's a different. That's actually, well, let's go to the next picture. Okay, so this magic, we decided to take it a different way, a little darker, more serious, adult way. So, and this is where the hooks got a little thicker. We created there was a concept called true safety consciousness that Abram Safety would articulate. And it was somewhat amorphous at first, but it was clear it was some kind of metaphysical secret. As time evolved, the whole biography evolved around this gentleman whose name is Abram S. Luckner, who was actually, he'd rescued the gorilla from poachers as an infant. There's a long backstory. I take a lot of time making stuff like this up. I don't play Farmville, so I have to do something. So true safety consciousness was a sort of metaphysical notion that perfused all of the skits, but always sort of in the background, and always with this sort of illusion as if you've already heard, because our performers are so indoctrinated they don't know what you are. They can't imagine you haven't heard of true safety consciousness. Now, Luckner was actually kind of inspired by. Let me give you a little more on Luckner, because he's a fascinating character, and I've begun to think he might have been real. There are those who thought he was real, actually. He's kind of inspired by Carl Jung. He's in that area where the occult and psychology overlap. He's from that era. We associate him with various real-world personalities. The Viennese actionist, he's from Vienna, so he was involved with people like Otto Mühl, who had ran a commune, and he has it's out in Joshua Tree. He lived in Joshua Tree, moved from Austria in 1979, I believe it was. He's going to start something called the Agartha Institute, which would take the principles of phantasmagoric education and bring them into sort of a living situation. This is very important to him. It was something that was never realized because he died in 1989. So, and he died in he was the artist, he died in his studio. He used different chemicals, so I think there was some sort of, he was asphyxiated. And it said that perhaps incorrect application of first aid principles were responsible for his death. So when he died, an organization called Luckner Memorial Trust was founded. His wife Emma presided, was chairperson, and so they have gone on to fund our work. They were interested in the idea that we were a sort of comedy group influenced by performance art. His association You're just listening to me like this is all true. Anyway, I have a backstory. The guy, actually, Lübner, if anybody knows German, means liar. So, we like to drop little broad hints like that in. Anyway, so Lübner, apparently people have. There is a screed online published by a Lyndon LaRouche youth group talking about Abram S. Lübner and just going on and on, because we had done a show at the Steve Allen Theater. The Steve Allen Theater was associated with the Center for Inquiry West, which is a sort of skeptics organization that discredits paranormal claims. And this, I don't even know what bone they had to pick with them, but they saw that they were associated with Abram Lübner, and they knew about Lübner from researching our website. And so they went on to detail all of these crazy theories, phantasmagoric learning, and his other theory, penile retention, womb rape. Very, very dangerous character, and they're very upset that that organization was associated with it. Lübner actually kind of came also out of another Cacophony prank that we've done. There was something called Mudcraft, and this was not fleshed out, but we were basically we were selling just really scatological lumps of mud on the beach in Venice Beach. We had a little booth. There were donations, but we had these. It just looked like shit. And we had little trays and the sign, and we actually painted some of them to make them more attractive. But they were rolled in turd shapes, and some of them actually sold. We painted some Rasta colors on some, and those were hot sellers. But there was also, and more funny was we had like information about this Mudcraft thing that we were trying to resurrect, and apparently it was created by somebody who was a top designer for Hasbro, and he created the Spirograph. And the Spirograph, of course, if you think about it, it's like the most kind of uptight, meticulous kind of toy there is. But he had some sort of epiphany, some kind of breakthrough. Maybe he'd gone to a sweat lodge or something. And he joined the counterculture, and he wanted to get in touch with Mother Earth. So he had this idea that Hasbro should market these things where you have to supply your own dirt. And anyway, so there was this whole story of this like toy executive going run amok, and I sort of liked that idea, feeding people this sort of information. And I've done a number of interviews. What happens when I do interviews about art of bleeding is I will just give them the party line about Dr. Lübner, and they usually don't do research before they talk to me, and I always make sure I don't talk to them until I know they have a deadline coming up, like it's really last minute, so there's no time for fact checking. So sometimes it'll just go in there as fact. Other times it'll say, say a fictional psychologist or one psychologist very not well known in the United States, because I do point out that none of his work has been translated.
How convenient.
And he can't be tracked down either, because there's on the website there's this Agartha Institute that he founded. There's some financial irregularities, and it failed. So now it's been converted into a place. It's out in Joshua Tree. It's called Tortoise Encounters. And it's a chemical dependency unit where part of the recovery program is caring for desert tortoises. So I thought this was very convincing, actually. So the links, I put up a dead link on that one, but things are fly-by-night out there, right? So Lübner has his history. Some people believe him, some people don't. My goal for the coming years is to make sure that more people come to understand how great and influential character he was. One of the things we do, for instance, when we go out on the streets, sort of related to Mudcraft, because it was also a early Cacophony event, we would invite people to have plaster casts put on their arms. You get that plaster bandage, like you get that anywhere, actually, our supply places. And of course, why do I want a plaster bandage? Well, the reason they want it is because there's a hot nurse that's going to put it on their arm. So that's the hook. But then Mudcraft didn't really have this all worked out the same way. The plaster cast, when I did it with Cacophony, it was just like, well, I'll get you sympathy and get you off work Monday morning, which is good. But we kind of spun that around with Art of Bleeding, and we do them in the ambulance too, so it lends some sort of bizarre authority to what we're doing. And we spun that around to Well, what was it? We call them paraphysical redressings. And what they would do is they would redress the fragmentation with which we are all born. It was an outward symbol of an inward healing. The caste supports you as you grow towards wholeness. Imagine, and then like, people, there would be a Q&A on this one. People would be like, what will my friends think? And then we point out, well, the Christian wears the cross as a symbol of immortality, but you can wear the cast as a symbol of your mortality and your fragility and bond with the human race. And you know, people listen to that and they get then they kind of don't want the cast. That's true. So that's kind of always been my. Oh, and the other one. When is the time for the cast to be removed? The butterfly will know when it is time to leave the cocoon. Okay, so, you know, it's hard to get people to say that with a straight face. So we went to this other, are we still okay on time? Almost done here. Nobody's telling me to stop. We took it to this other level. I got concerned, we were doing more of these kind of overt comedy things. I got concerned, I actually got concerned that people, you know, we weren't going to take Lumiere seriously. So I introduced this, I think it was kind of a maneuver to make it, a maneuver to help his credibility. So when we go out in the ambulance, we tell people that we don't know Dr. Lumiere, he's dead. And we just are hired by him. Maybe we don't understand all the principles of people that work for us. But they seem to think that what we're doing is in line with his goals of using art to teach the unconscious mind about, for instance, paramedical issues. So, you know, so there's some stumbling when we don't have the jargon all down. But I just figured this out when I was rebuilding the website. I added something. I added that we're
It's 2 o'clock. So
okay.
Let's maybe wrap it up in the next 5 minutes.
1 minute talk, 4 minute video. Actually, we're just perfect.
Perfect.
So we added this other element. We're supported by the funds from the Lumiere Trust. Okay, so now what that means is we have to put this crazy stuff on our website. Now we want to just do weird, offbeat kind of performance-y comedy, but we have to put it on the website because we're getting the money. But we want to make it a little implausible because then people will think it's a sophisticated prank, and they'll think we're really clever. So that is my new approach to this. And I just bought the domain Lumiere Trust, so I'll be working with that soon. So we're going to get this Lumiere guy the recognition that he deserves. Anyway, so that's basically your background on the art of bleeding, and you almost honestly need that to just be anything but confused by most of the stuff we do. But the next video kind of incorporates a lot of these elements, and it's kind of our introduction video. So, and after that, I'm ready for any questions after we're done. No, go to the next one. Sorry, that's just a problem.
Oh, hey. Hello, I'm Abe from the Safety Ape, beloved mascot of the Art of Bleeding Foundation.
And I'm the wise old hand puppet Dr. Moody.
And I am RT, the robot teacher.
We're all teachers, actually. Here to teach you how you can attain a deeper understanding of safety. Something we like to call true safety consciousness.
TSC, for short.
That doesn't mean we're like the Red Cross.
No, we teach things the Red Cross considers too dangerous.
Like how to perform emergency tracheotomies.
They won't trust you with that kind of information.
But we will. In fact, we're going to teach you that right now.
You see, true safety consciousness doesn't mean running from danger. It means understanding danger, embracing the danger, getting the smell of danger all in your hair, and not shampooing.
Our founder, the great radical psychologist and cultural iconoclast, Dr. Abram S. Lumiere, lived his life as a bold experiment.
Dr. Lumiere lived a big life. He loved life and he loved women.
That's why we consider it particularly hurtful when we're criticized for using women as sexualized window dressing.
as in the case of our beautiful, beautiful nurses. Can we get the nurses on stage, please?
They're not just here to titillate, of course, they're also here to demonstrate the Heimlich maneuver.
You see, technically, you're supposed to try the Heimlich maneuver before you start cutting on anybody's windpipe.
Yes, and there it is. I think you'll pretty much get the idea by watching. But 9 out of 10 times that won't do any good, so you'll have to do an emergency tracheotomy. So, you can use anything sharp, knife if you got one, nail file, maybe the end of a comb. The trick would be just to stick it in right here below the Adam's apple. If you're just giving it a good push. Is he fucked on TV?
You really fucked up this time.
Did he learn? Or is this simply the bigger lesson? Is it not precisely in these moments, as we break through the bounds of our physical bodies and bleed, that we are thrown headlong into the reality of safety consciousness?
Yes! Art of
bleeding, yes. Without this sort of death, there can be no birth.
Doesn't mean to die. It's all happening so fast.
Oh dear God. Yes, Dr. Mooney, look.
Yes, Aiden. All these things, but symbols, reflections, guideposts on the invisible ocean of true safety consciousness.
Oceans don't have guideposts.
Are we doing questions? Are there any questions? Yes?
Is that Carrie French?
Yes, it is. Nurse Carrie French.
Good call, Carrie. So, Al, I'm just wanting to bring in another important LAVA event. Kim and I organize under LAVA some workshops at the Criminalistics Department at Cal State LA.
That sounds good.
There's a new crime lab that the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department built that the Cal State LA Criminalistics Department shares. And, you know, we get to go over there and talk to Professor Don Johnson about potential upcoming workshops. And, you know, we find the best way to work with Professor Johnson is just sort of have these free, open rap sessions where we just talk about anything that comes to mind. Fetishism, paraphilia, what have you. And Don talks about, you know, sort of the emergence of his consciousness as a forensic investigator. And sort of when we do these workshops, I personally want to bring to the public consciousness what a real-life forensic investigator looks for. Because you go into these crime scenes, and you're riddled with dead bodies, and you're trying to find the truth to it. And he said a really important moment for him as a forensics investigator, sort of the eureka moment, that I think you're very much about is he said there was this moment, it was the quadruple homicide in Whittier. He's at this quadruple homicide in Whittier, and he says, oh, of course, I have to test for semen in the stab wounds.
I'm going to have that on a t-shirt. A new Crime Boat t-shirt. It's going to say that. Check for semen in the stab.
And that was really, after that, everything just was a whole new lens.
Did he find it?
Yes.
Oh, like you didn't know.
I would have worn a condom.
And on that note.
Was that a question?
I just wanted to bring in another.
Yeah, I'll talk to Abram and Dr. Moody and see what they say.
I have a question.
Oh no.
Have you thought of channeling the art of bleeding into a relatively, extremely highbrow, normal, crusty, dusty place like the Kaiser Permanente, or a very serious hospital? Maybe you could do a program for the kids in the parking lot or in the cafeteria.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I don't know how. I think one of the ways I would like to start out. This is actually coming up in May. There is going to it's not Kaiser, but it's some sort of a Cancer Awareness Institute. You know this is going to be funny. They have a sponsor. They call it the Super Colon. It's a giant life-size walk-through colon. So I think we might take Abram there, shoot some video, see what he has to say. I'm not quite sure.
You can bring your own colon. Maybe you can make a bigger, better colon than theirs. Show your philosophy.
You should come along, Rich.
Your colon is really impressive. You can walk through it.
Oh, they advertise you as a walk-through colon.
It's really cool. I've been.
Now, you've been through a lot of colons.
Yes.
Okay, that was a bad question. I'm sorry. I have a better question. Are you envisioning a theme park? Maybe if you could get enough funding from some of these hospitals that are cutting expenses off nurses and surgeons, you could have a theme park and you could teach the Dr. Moody's and your founders knowledge through this theme park.
Yeah, I think a good stepping stone to that would be Children's Hospital. We're building some rides for them.
Yeah, rides.
Yeah. They're actually just wheelbarrows at this point.
That's a start.
Yeah. Oh, they're painted red and stuff. We got medical. So was there another question? Okay.
How can one be part of this whole Art of Bleeding experience?
We're all part of it. Actually, I mean, I'm always looking for people that kind of aren't repulsed, that are interested in what we're doing, and maybe have some creative angle they'd like to bring to it. We actually have been collecting one of the things we've done is we've been collecting what we call gory detail stories. We're not doing that for the next few months though, but we do have shows. I have, oh, you're letting me plug my shit. Oh. I get where that was going. I mean, I'm just used to trying to interpret what some people are saying. Yeah, actually, we have flyers here. And if you sign the mailing list, I can put you on the mailing list for upcoming events. There really are all sorts of events. Some of the events are the ambulance rolls out to a public sidewalk and you can come in, get maybe a plaster cast. It's not always plaster cast. Tell your story, record your story. Sometimes we've handed out on Valentine's, we've handed out cookies dipped in blood. We've had like in-ambulance surgery. So sometimes the ambulance will just show up and there's a little medicine show going on. Or there's shows in clubs where there are scripted shows that are kind of like the kids show I was talking about. And then there are other things that are like clinic installations. So all those kinds of events are covered in our mailing list if you want to sign up. Got a Facebook page, Twitter. This is so sad, I just got on Twitter like a few days ago, and I have 38 followers. So, I mean, we have 30. It's not just me; it's we. But we. So I made these flyers to get more Twitter followers. It says, "Please help. We need Twitter followers." And there's a picture. You can't see, but there's a picture of a woman begging with her child.
Can you make that a PDF available for download?
I can do that. Yeah. I actually have a few excerpts if somebody wants them, but I'd rather have you tear the tags off. Yeah, so it's got the woman begging. I was going to put a starving African child in it, but then I wasn't sure if that was a bad idea.
If we could sort of wrap it up officially, of course people are going to want to talk to you, but if you could just give us one thing, because some people have to leave that over walk a little bit. If you could just let close officially with one thing you want everyone to walk away with.
I want them to take this Twitter flyer. And it even says, even lame, because this is for everybody, it says, even lame followers gratefully accepted. And there's a little disclaimer that says, but will be deleted later when our account fleshes out. Anyway, so please join us on Twitter, take some flyers. We have a show at one of those goth clubs. We'll be doing a make-believe play doctor clinic next Saturday. There's always different events, and there's information on the website and all that is here. There's also a free sex change coupon. Not free, it's only $50 off, but it's worth it. Take one of those too. And I have some coloring books too. Some of them are from The Art of Bleeding, some of them are from the Cacophony Society. They're about Jesus and abscesses. Al, thank you very much. Raise your hand. Everyone look at John Alloway. Gino. There's Gene. Thank you, Gene. Okay, so that's it. This is our 13th. This is the 13th Lava Salon. We're done. We'll see you next month. Same time, same place. What's for next month? We don't know what's next month yet. Maybe you'll help us.
It's you! Your next month.
All right, so thank you all very much.
See how that works?